My name is Patrick Yepes. I'm the owner of a Dream Big Marketing Services. We're the folks that put together many of the master classes. If you're a member of a subscriber to my email list, you've probably seen that we do a master class and or a webinar every week throughout the year. I'm also a fellow investor. I've been a real estate investor for the past 30 years. And so I know know the business well. With that said, you're not here to hear me. You're here to hear Atchuta and to listen in on Sharon's tips and words of wisdom. Sharon has over 20 years of experience dealing with probates, and she's going to hop in around midway, so in about 25 minutes or so. She's with us here, but she'll hop in and talk a little bit about using list stacking for those probate leads. If you have any questions, by the way, please ask them in the chat. At the end of Achuta's presentation, we're going to go over those questions. So I'll ask you to unmute yourself and to ask the questions. If you don't stay through the end of the webinar, or if you're shy, I'll be more than happy to ask the questions for you. Also, just kind of housekeeping detail, the webinar will be recorded, it will be edited, and it will be mailed out to everybody this evening. So if you want to catch something that you missed on the webinar, you have an opportunity to see the recording. So with that said, Atchuta, it takes me great pleasure to introduce you to everybody. Why don't you go ahead and as they say, the floor is yours. So go right ahead and take over.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for the introduction.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. Like Patrick mentioned, I'll be covering several motivated seller lists and how stacking can help the process of identifying motivated and highly motivated sellers so that investors can get a better deal with optimized utilization of their time. Feel free to interrupt me at any point of time, or if you have any questions in any of the slides which I speak, you can write, you can ask using a chat box or raise a hand. I can always take up questions before I move on to the following slides. Again, thank you and welcome you all. I'll briefly cover in this session what our lists are, what are sources of data, some of the niche lists which we provide, how stacking of lists can help. Then we talk about probate and pre-probate data which we offer. Then I leave the floor to Sharon to speak about some of the probate words of wisdom and how she trains people on getting better deals using probate as a medium, because that's one niche area which is used by not many investors, but it's a niche area which can be tapped. I'll also talk about the other lead types and some of the services which we offer. So, and some of the myths, like for example, data is everything, costs when they compare with other competitors, some of our customers feedback, special offer for today, how one can refer and earn, and some case studies if we have time and if somebody is interested in knowing more about us. My name is Atchuta Neelam. I am founder of Real Supermarket and List Central. Some of you may be aware of Real Supermarket. We have been in the business for the last 15 years, offering various types of lists to investors, wholesalers, and companies like Realty Track and so on. The specialty what we bring to the table is the experience, and we work with several investors and we learn from them and also contribute to their growth. That's how we work. I myself is Masters in Business Administration. I mentor few folks on getting to the financial freedom stage of life. Basically, I live in London, but run businesses across the globe. I have operations in the US and India. Most of my team sits in India. That's where we support our customers who are based in the US. I love to travel, teach, and if I have time, I love to play with my twins. Um, that's how I spend my time, and that's how I relax. List Central is an offshoot of Real Supermarket. I briefly cover what Real Supermarket is and how we want to migrate to List Central over the next few months. Anything related to data, whether it's public data or property data, one can reach me because I can leverage my experience in gathering this information and productizing that information to suit various needs of investors and professionals in the real estate industry. So this is about the company. We are a team of 90 researchers with more than 200 years of experience put together. We not only provide niche leads, but generic leads. Like I said, we operate remotely from India with a US presence. We have national coverage. The data, what we pull is pulled daily so that the users of the data gets it fresh. And in case of List Central, the data is delivered instantly because it's an online store. We provide free samples to customers so that they know what they're going to receive once they place an order. There's no minimum order, no mandatory subscription, 100% guarantee, full refund in 7 days, no questions asked. We have a comprehensive service, not only lists, leads, virtual assistants, and analysis. When I say analysis, analysis of various property deals and so on. Customized leads, skip tracing services, calling and texting, back office, 80, I can proudly say that 80% of our staff is women. And we are always open to working on various projects so that we can explore the financial and the financial feasibility and practical operation level efficiency of various projects. List Central extension of Real Supermarket. The customers can search for a particular product or a county and a lead type. If they find that product, they can add to the shopping cart and buy that particular product and get the data instantly. No wait times. We are not uploading all data on List Central because though we cover 3,000 counties, we may not have customers all through. So in case somebody needs a particular county and a particular lead type, they can raise a request and we promise to fulfill that request within 48 hours. Why we operate? Our goal is to provide fresh data, give our customers the first mover advantage because our data is fresh. The goal is to provide the total cost, which is optimized, not only includes data costs, skip tracing costs, mailing and administration follow-up and so on. So we want our customers to look at it in a holistic view rather than just a cost of data or something like that. Because when you look at it at that level, it may appear costly or sometimes it may be cheap. But we need more effective solution and a holistic total cost before someone makes an informed decision. Then what we offer is not rocket science, to be very honest, but we do it in a systematic way so that our customers have a steady stream of leads, which is cost effective, so that they can find motivated homeowners who are ready to sell or probably which have a high probability to sell at a lower price. So I just covered all of them. Data is 100% accurate, comprehensive services. So customers can look at our reviews. They are on Trustpilot, then on Fiverr, where we have more than 1,200 customers rating us above 4.9. We have fulfilled more than 22,000 orders and 100% guarantee. That's what is the introduction about us before I move on to each lead type. Our list.
There is one question from John Messina, Atchuta. He asks, do you service Toronto, Ontario, Canada?
To be very honest, not at this moment of time, but probably in the future.
Thanks.
But we have most of the counties covered in the US.
Very well. Thanks, Atchuta.
No problem. Thank you. So this is the list of all types of leads we offer. Complete list. And we also do customized list building for various customers. When I say customized, based on one requirement, they may need specific needs. Like, for example, can you filter it by location or a sea waterfront? We can do that customization as well. All types of leads, tax delinquents, reverse mortgage, vacant, inheritance. I'll be covering a few of them in detail in my following slides, but this gives a gamut of what all we offer. And we don't buy data anywhere. Every data point which we sell or record which we sell is generated within the organization with careful analysis from public records. I'll also share some of the sources which we use. So we use public record data, county clerk websites, appraiser sites, county courthouses, small claim courts, foreclosure auction websites, legal newspapers, legal websites, classified information, FSBO sites, and a host of other websites. This is free data which is available, and we search these websites regularly and generate the data and process it to make it suitable for our investors or customers, so to speak. We have learned a lot working with several customers in the last 15 years. Many of the real estate trainers and real prop tech companies buy data from us. I'll share the names of some of the customers in the following slides. I move on to the list. There are generic lists and specific lists. When I talk about niche lists, absentee, vacant, like that information is widely available and it's offered by any company which has little bit of knowledge about public records. But niche lists are what makes us special. We not only provide generic lists, we also do niche lists, which helps our customers do target marketing. And it's more cost effective. Instead of running after 10,000 absentee records, I would run or suggest my customers to focus on 50 probate records because the cost of marketing is substantially lower when they have to deal with 50 records vis-a-vis when compared to 10,000 records. A less motivated or a generic list may not give the sufficient leads because not all of them are motivated. It's shooting in the dark. But if you are looking at a focus list like probate, inheritance, divorce, there is a likelihood of these properties being listed in the near future or being sold at a discount because of their financial situation or life changes which they are going through. So some of the niche lists we offer are probate and pre-probate, code violation lists, evictions. We compile all these lists ourselves, divorce lists, tax delinquent, inheritance, to name a few. I'll be covering them in detail, what each means and what information do we provide. We have national coverage for all the lead types which we are going to talk about. In case we don't have any, we'll come back to you and say this is not possible, so and so on. But we do have quite a good coverage. So then I'll talk about list stacking. We have lists, generic lists, niche lists, and we also do list stacking of the niche lists. So some of the why list stacking is important. What we do is we use data from multiple lists where we have multiple levels of motivation. For example, probate, or someone going through a probate, and it also has something like a tax delinquent record associated. The likelihood of that person or the family selling that property is very high. So it results in optimum utilization of time, marketing resources, which means overall cost of generating a lead is substantially lower. Say, for example, somebody would say, I would require inherited property, but out of state or homeowner. So someone who is out of state, say, for example, living in New York, have inherited property in Texas, the likelihood of that person selling that property is significantly higher when compared to a property in New York and he has inherited the person lives in New York, because there is a chance that the person may look after this property or delay the decision of selling it to a later date. And someone going through a divorce and are behind payments on mortgages. So divorce and foreclosure. The likelihood of that property being sold at a deep discount is significantly higher when compared to a just divorce record or a foreclosure record where someone is behind payments. So we can merge those two and make it more attractive so that someone gets more bang for their buck. So that we have done with so many customers, and it has been very successful. Instead of customers focusing on number of leads which are more than say 10,000, which involves more admin work, more follow-up, more cost, higher cost of marketing, and so on, I would rather ask or suggest my customers to focus on say 50 records, though it's slightly expensive than the normal set of records, but it's an optimum utilization of their time and energy and get a better success rate. Any questions so far before I move on to the following slides?
Achuta, I noticed that you can tailor things. You can tailor the lists based on the client's needs or the client's requests, which is something that a lot of companies don't do.
Mhm.
That's very, very powerful. Is there any state that in which you do not provide these type of lists, or is this for all 50 states?
This is for all 50 states.
Wonderful.
You raised a good point, Patrick. How we differentiate from the big companies is we provide a customized service. So they say that I need, like I said, I was saying someone wants a waterfront property. We can find that. Someone is looking at say someone would say I would require a probate record, but owns land in Texas, for example, and which is more than 5 acres in area. We can do that. That's how we add value. And there is a person talking to a customer or a potential customer, unlike big companies where we just search and find what's available on the shelf.
Understood. And what's very unique about your company, you're not reselling data that you're getting from some warehouse in the clouds. You folks are actually the ones that have boots on the ground that are getting this information for the real estate investors, correct?
Very, very true. At one point I would like to elaborate here, Patrick, is we work remotely. And as many of you are aware, when I started this company 15 years back, then only 20 to 30% of counties were offering information online. But things have evolved. The government has modernized themselves significantly. Now I can say that 60% of the counties provide information online, either free or they charge a little fee to provide that information. That's the reason, though we are not having boots on the ground, we are able to provide this information at a fraction of cost and fresh as today. We pull
Wonderful.
data daily. We pull data daily, unlike many companies. And if we have big customers, and we do have big customers, for them, we pull data on a daily basis. So something like if there is an expired listing today and they have ordered it, they receive that expired listing by the end of the day. So the
Phenomenal.
customers have an early mover advantage. So I know few customers who contact the list we offer daily on the same day. And needless to say, they have a first mover advantage and they are closing more deals.
Wonderful. Thanks, Atchuta. Thank you.
No problem. So I'll move on. Probate list. Most of you may be aware, anyone, the deceased estate has to pass on. So they go through a certain procedure. And some cases it's pre-probate. We also do probate lists. There's a filing in the county. They go through the process. It takes usually 6 to 12 or 24 months based on the state. But the main piece is we check for all the filings and ensure that the deceased owns real estate. Some customers insist that they want both all types of records, whether there is real estate associated or not. But investors who are real estate investors specifically insist that we offer records where there is real estate associated. And we pull that information on a daily basis, and customers buy them on a weekly basis for the previous 6 days, or some of them buy it for a month. So they get it first. They can choose a date within a month on which they want to receive the information. And for the previous 30 days, we pull the data, process it, ensure there is real estate associated, and then provide that information. This list can also be stacked. Probate with some of the examples is probate with high equity, probate which is free and clear, probate which is out of state, and so on and so forth. The outputs are usually provided in an Excel format, and we provide all information required for our customers to make a decision: the filing date, the case number, the decedent's name, the property address, the mailing address, and so on and so forth. Some customers ask us to do skip tracing of the records we receive. When I say skip tracing, identify phone numbers or contact information of hires. We do that as well as a special service. So, and as you may be aware, not all real estate or probate, all real estate or deceased pass through the courts or the probate filing. There is also, because of trust and others which are associated, not all of them go through the probate process. So if one has to catch all the records, there is an option of doing that. We also offer something called as a pre-probate. What we do is, as soon as we see an obituary in the newspaper, we check whether that person owns real estate. And if they do, we identify the hires of this property and do skip tracing to find the addresses. And a lot of customers buy this information as well. So with an intention to have most of the property which is being transferred to the next generation gets addressed from the particular county which they are interested in. So pre-probate and probate can together cover a significant portion of what's being transferred from one generation to another after a person is deceased. So this is predominantly obituaries. The same set of service. Some customers buy it on a weekly basis, some on a monthly basis, and some do as and when required. Customers say I would require all pre-probate or probate lists from a particular county for the last 1 year. They do historic data as well. Probate and pre-probate, I just covered it. Timing wise, probate, after probate is filed, we find them in probate court filings. Executor decide on ways to handle assets and so on. Many investors search for probate cases because the competition is good. I would not say less, but it is there. In a pre-probate scenario, before something gets really filed, as soon as a death happens, we check whether there is a real estate associated or not. We check obituaries, property records, death notices, and so on. We identify the likely heirs of the property based on the last names of the persons who are related to the deceased person. So customer, in many cases, customers approach all of them, and so on. In pre-probate, the competition is relatively less because this information is only available to someone who do this additional research. Whereas in case of probate cases, someone who has access to probate filings online or who can visit a courthouse to get this information, have access to this information. So most customers target probate and pre-probate to cover the entire probate universe. So any questions so far before I request Sharon to share her words of wisdom about probate, because she has more than 30 years of experience training people successful who are quite successful in probate and how to deal with probate properties, the process associated. Who else is a better person than to talk about probate on this call? Sharon, thank you.
Yeah, actually, Paris, you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? Go right ahead. Let's see.
Yes,
Paris, go right ahead.
So do you just cold call the executors of the probated properties? Or how do you reach out?
We provide the contact information of the executors, and there are different approaches. Paris customers take, some send a yellow letter, some a postcard. In some cases, they call. I also found over a period of time that customers approach the probate attorneys who are dealing with these kind of cases, records or scenarios to find deals, and quite a few of them are successful. So to sum up, they do customers call the executors.
Paris, your question is actually perfect timing because that's something that Sharon is going to talk about. She's going to talk about precisely that. And what Sharon is going to chat about is exactly what are the strategies that one uses when dealing with with probates. So their question is perfectly timed. By the way, Sharon, I don't know Paris, and that question just is a perfect segue to you. Sharon is going to talk exactly about that, how one can reach out to the probate to those, to the heirs or to the executor. Sharon has a strategy behind that. Now, folks, today's webinar isn't about probate, but that's one of the lists that is really valuable if you're a real estate investor or even if you're a real estate agent. It's a very valuable list. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We have, as I mentioned, the honor of having Sharon join us today, and she's going to address that. And then Achuta's is going to talk a little bit more about the other lists. As an investor, I've used lists for many, many, many years. They're very, very valuable if you know how to approach them properly. And the list stacking is very powerful because you can spend a lot of money very quickly on lists. And if you're not stacking them, you may not be getting your best bang for the buck. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing. Sharon, please take it away and share some of that beautiful knowledge that you've gained over several decades.
Well, thank you, Patrick and Atchuta, for having me on. I have been on real estate focused on off-market deals for more than 25 years, but I've focused on probates solely almost that long. So off-market was always my niche. And I can tell you that it's changed so much, as Atchuta said. I like to call Atchuta the king of follow-up, because when he first started reaching out to me probably 8 or 10 years ago, probates were not available online in my name or in my area. And he just kept checking in. And when they finally became available, then I was able to work with this company. And I have personally worked with them, and I personally refer them to everyone that I work with, my students, because they are just a great company to work with. They are very reasonably priced, and they do a great job. So that's my personal experience with Atchuta and the folks that work there. When it comes to list stacking, combining probate lists with other motivated seller lists, it's a great strategy, because probate properties in almost every instance must be sold. Now, Atchuta went through the probate process a little bit, and it is a legal process. So there are rules around that. And if the property hasn't been inherited or put in a trust or by some means escaped probate, then it's going to be sold. When you can combine that with a second motivation, then these leads really are gold. That is the truth. So, you've got your regular probate leads, and then you've got your list stacking leads, and you should do both. These properties, in most cases, are going to need some repairs and updating. If they're in perfect condition, they're going to be listed on the MLS, but that does not mean you don't need this list. Some will be listed, some will be sold to investors. But this is a golden opportunity for probates, because it's, there's a term coined, the silver tsunami, that says about 2 million properties per year are going to be dumped on the market for the next 2 decades. These folks can be highly motivated sellers. They don't want the property they've inherited. Many times they can't afford the upkeep on the properties. They just want to sell quickly and settle the estate. The beauty with probate leads is that there is a new list, as Atchuta said, daily. In my business, I get the leads monthly, because there's really no getting there first on probate leads, so to speak. They'll be ready to sell on their own timeline, and you're good just to get the leads. Like, let's say we are in February now, so the best way you do that is you get the month before, and then when you move into March, you get February's leads. I cannot stress the importance of consistency enough here. The investors that succeed in marking any off-market niches, I don't care which one it is, they are the ones that consistently mail month after month after month, and they get their new leads and they grow their list over time. And this is just really is the way you succeed in this business. So Atchuta talked about probates, but I did want to remind you, these are highly motivated leads, and there is way less competition when you're working probates because a lot of people just feel kind of strange about working probates. I don't really know why, but they do. They don't understand. So there's a lot less competition with probates. But as you go down this path with probates, you will find that when you're list stacking, you get the motivation going, you get the compound effect going faster than when you're just working, with one type of lead. I like personally to use some of them. Well, they're all good, whether it's code violations or tax delinquent properties, especially like absentee owners. They can be very motivated because they are somewhere else, and it's really hard to deal with this probate property. Landlords, if someone passes away and their loved one was a landlord, they may have a few rentals, they may have a lot of rentals, and most all of them do not want the property. That's just a fact. So, I would like to kind of leave you. I'm not going to take up all of Achuta's time. Patrick put my information up there. If you want to learn more, you can do that. But I probably one of the biggest examples I can show you of lead stacking was by far one of my most profitable deals ever. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and someone passed away. Their relative passed away here, but the personal representative, who was a son, was in California, and he had a big job of some kind. He did not have time to come back to Louisville to settle the estate. He didn't want to do it. Therefore, he was very motivated to sell this property. He just wanted it off his plate. And this property did not really need any work. It needed cleaning up a bit. So there were no big repairs, no big updating. And he knew, as the personal representative, that he could get a higher price by listing it on the MLS. But he didn't care. He just didn't care. So remember that when you are dealing with these folks, they're in a circumstance where they just most all the time want to be done, and the heirs can't get what they're inheriting until this process plays out. So feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. Patrick put my information up there, and my email is sharon@sharonvornholt.com. I'm happy to tell you that about my experience with working with Atchuta and his as leads. I don't have anything bad to say about him. I'll tell you that. So with that being said, I'll let you guys have this back because I want to be respectful of the time here. These people came to hear Atchuta talk.
Just two things. First of all, just wanted to let everybody know I included a link in the chat. It's a Calendly link. Sharon has been gracious enough to say, look, I'll spend 15 minutes of my time with anyone who wants to learn a little bit more about probates. Sharon is a coach in the space. She teaches people how to work with probates. So you're welcome to schedule a 15-minute free discovery call with Sharon. There are two questions real quick. And one of them, piggybacking on what Paris asked earlier. Can you just briefly tell us what's your approach? What has worked for you over the decades of experience that you have in reaching out to probate leads, number one, and number two, what is your strategy about purchasing the probate leads? In other words, should I just purchase March and then work on that and then maybe purchase September or October? What's the strategy you would suggest for those people that want to dip their feet in or are already working with probates?
Okay, so when I first started, and I do recommend this to my students, I like for them to go back 6 months and get someone to scrub out that list like Atchuta. And there will be a lot of properties that are still available. Some people, they wait to open the estate, for whatever reason they don't sell. I've bought a lot of properties early on and a lot about the 1 year mark. So get your leads every month. Go back 6 months. If you're brand spanking new, I recommend that you go back 6 months. With that being said, then you get new leads every month and you build a list. In my area, I'm in a population of about 1 million people. I was lucky to be able to build a list of 800 or 900 people, but it's critical that you buy your list every month. Every month there's a new group of leads. Now, how do I reach out to them? After working with probate since 2008, there's no doubt the most successful approach is direct mail early on. To use a professional letter, a mail merged personalized letter that would say, "Dear Patrick," or "Dear Mr. Smith." As you go down further down the road, you can use other approaches. But in the beginning, these people are very raw and they don't welcome a phone call from you. I will tell you that. They're not ready to talk about it. So just be patient. Go down the process, and it works. Did I miss any part of that question, Patrick? I feel like
No, I think no, you covered it. And I guess it's very valid your point about to use the term list stacking. You're stacking the months one over the other, and that's in order to keep that pipeline going. Is that the strategy?
Yes, and you can get regular probate leads, and I've always worked those. Just get the probate list from Atchuta, and then I would recommend getting them to do the list stocking thing, and I would keep those separate personally, because then you want to focus on those. You understand their motivation. You can tailor your mail piece to them. I know you're in California. This is a tough time. Whatever with the probate. It gives you the chance to stand out among other people who are not doing that. Now, down the road, you get down the road a little bit, you want to call them, you can try that. I personally have not had good luck with that, but things evolve all the time. So just test when it comes to your marketing.
Does anyone have any question? You're welcome to unmute yourself if you've got a question for Sharon. I do have a question, Sharon.
Okay.
What's the sweet spot? What's the sweet time? If I'm mailing out to probates, more or less, what's the sweet spot when I can expect to either hear back from them or when I can take that next step, which is maybe, give them a call?
Okay, so statistically, and the Sales and Marketing Council put together some statistics which are still true today, and I found them to be true in my business. 81% of your deals, not your calls with probates, this is not every niche, will come at or beyond your 5th mailing. So if you start today is number 1, you get a new list, and then, you keep adding to your list. So in the 4th month, everyone will be on month 5 in 4 months, of their journey. That's about, will you get deals before then? Yes. Will the bulk of your deals come early? No, I found them to be around 4 to 8 months, something like that. That's when the bulk of them will come. So, this is individual to each market, but that's the way I found it to be. Now, with the other thing to remember is that 90% of your competition will stop mailing on or before the 3rd mailing. That is a known statistic. So just keep getting the leads, just go down the road. And then, if you get 6 months down the road, I think the best way to reach out to them is by text first. That's a non-threatening thing. They can look at their phone. People respond to text. And I would do that before I would personally cold call those people. Now, that's not true for every niche. A lot of them you can do very well cold calling, as I'm sure Atchuta knows.
Yeah, that's texting. We had good success.
Yeah.
Very, very well. Very well. Sadia, do you have a question for Sharon? Do you want to ask the question?
Sure, I can ask. Sharon, how big of a marketing budget do you recommend to start mailing these probate leads for months on end to be consistent for those 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 months?
Well, it takes, generally to outsource it. The company that I use, I didn't even truthfully realize that Atchuta did mailings. How could I not know that? In general, I've been doing this a long time. I will tell you this, 25 years ago, it was $1.50 to mail a white computer-generated mail merge letter. Today, all these years later, it's somewhere $1.15, $1.20 maybe. Postcards are significantly cheaper. But I will tell you this, you will get your best results using this mail piece for probates. Every other type of lead, off-market lead, I've always used probates for, but marketing budget, you have to start with what you've got. So if you've only got $300 a month, then that's 300. You're better off to keep your list tight. Like Atchuta said, keep your list tight. You don't want to mail everybody. You want these to be motivated sellers. Or the likelihood of them being motivated sellers. So, but start with what you can. Now, remember I said in my area, I could never really get above 800, a list of about 800, because I built a tight list. They always left out the zip codes that were bad in my area or the homes that were too expensive. So they're not going to be sold to investors usually. They're going to be listed. So that's an opportunity for an agent. But, if you've got 300, start there. If you can do more, then great. More pieces of mail of good quality leads, or, more pieces, more contacts will give you a better result faster. Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And I guess, Sadia, that's also, if my budget is a little bit tight, then I want to be more honed in on getting list stacking, so that if I list stack, I might spend a little bit more on that list. It's a smaller list, but it's good. The likelihood that they're going to convert is much higher. So I in any case, list stacking is great, but particularly if I have a smaller budget, then I want to make sure that that mailer that's going out is the likelihood that they're going to be very motivated is higher by doing that list stacking. And Atchuta can help you with that. He and his team can help you set that up and guide you along the way in case you want, you need advice. Definitely.
If your budget is smaller, definitely employ that tactic. The consistency is the number one most important thing I have found over all these years when it comes to marketing to any of these people.
Very well. Guy, any other questions while we have Sharon here with us? Nope.
Nope. Thank you
okay.
all.
Sharon, thank you so much. Atchuta, why don't you take your screen back? And I know you're going to wrap up your presentation, and then we'll leave it for any other questions afterwards.
Sharon, thanks for your words of wisdom. I totally agree with what you said, because everything is in the follow-up. And people and the money is in the follow-up. That's what everyone says. And I totally agree with you on that one. Thanks again. Can you see my screen now? So I'll move on.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you, Sharon.
And by the way, I'm gonna insert Sharon's link again in the chat. If you like, Sharon is making herself available to anyone here on this webinar, to set up a discovery call with her. Go right ahead, Atchuta.
Thank you. The other niche list which I'll be talking about is code violations. Like everyone is aware, there are building regulations and code which one has to follow. Should the homeowners not follow for various reasons, either due to financial constraints or ill health or whatever, these properties are listed at the county or at the town offices that they do not follow code. These are again good properties for finding motivated sellers. If somebody is not following code, there is a reason behind that particular situation, and we can get good deals on these kind of properties as well. In most cases, they require work because of various limitations one property may have, like, for example, improper electrical wiring. Some code violations are very subtle. When I say subtle, they don't really require much work. For example, uncut grass or snow not being removed and so on. But some require some structural changes which require additional work. and expertise to address those issues. So again, what information do we provide? Owner address, case numbers, the case number when I say it's the filing numbers, the property address, mailing address, parcel ID, and so on. Some of the ways we can stack is code violation where the property owner does not live there. So they may be out of state or are little away from the property. So they may not be able to spend time to fix that property. And similarly, the property is vacant for so long, properties which have high equity, there's a code violation, high equity. In those cases, the homeowner may be interested in offering the property for an owner financing scenario. And these are various ways where we can identify good leads to target so that though we spend little additional money in finding out these leads, the buyer of these leads can optimize the time spent and also the cost, minimize the cost to arrive at good deals and make some profit either in the short term by flipping and fixing or by holding them over a period of time. Similar to code violation list, we have evictions list. These, again, the motivation here could be the homeowner who has just gone through a legal process to evict their tenant. And trust me, not many homeowners would love to get into that situation. If they have gone through a similar situation or this situation recently, they are most likely to sell the property, especially the accidental landlords and the landlords which have less experience are more likely to sell or go for a listing of the property. They don't want to get through all the mess or to deal with the court system and so on, rather than they would like to have a peaceful life. If somebody has hundreds and hundreds of properties, they may still not be motivated to sell, but when the number of properties owned by the homeowners are less, there is a high likelihood of that property being sold. Again, what information do we have? Plaintiff information, the file date, the defendant, the mailing address, the property address, and so on. The other way of stacking, which is quite popular, but we don't really call it stacking. People choose the number of beds and baths they require so that they don't really have the value of the property, so they don't really have to deal with hundreds and hundreds of records. Rather, I would say I'm more interested in a property with the range of 500 to 600, 3-bedroom. So the list is small and it's easy to handle. That means one is super focused. As we say that when one is focused, the results are significantly higher, and the cost of achieving of financial freedom or state we want to be is significantly lower. So some of the eviction and an aged homeowner is really, really highly motivated because the person may not be able to handle that situation in case it occurs again. So the likelihood of that homeowner selling the property is definitely higher. I'll just move on. If anyone has questions, feel free to interrupt or write it on the chat box. Tax liens, as the name says, somebody is behind taxes. So if somebody is behind taxes and know that their property is likely to be taken over or listed for sale for whatever reason, that situation is not good from a homeowner perspective. They are delaying taxes in spite of being known that they lose the property, means they are in financial distress. So when somebody is in financial distress, they would like to, again, sell the property and get cash out of it or move on. And so they are more open to offers, I would say that. So liens can be several types: property taxes, federal taxes, state taxes, IRS tax liens, and so on. We can pull all these kind of lists, and we can also stack them based on the unique requirements of customers. Say liens, there is a lien, but it's fully paid property. That's a very good candidate for owner financing. Similarly, liens free and clear, no outstanding at all. There is a lien, the property owner doesn't live there. He's probably in California while the property is in Florida. Vacant land and so on. So again, like I said, we can customize the offering to your specific needs.
Atchuta, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
There's a VIP in the room. His name is William Tingle. He is a coach, by the way. He is a creative financing coach. And his name, as I mentioned, is William Tingle. He has a question. And by the way, folks, you'll be getting an email from me. We're going to be doing a master class with William in about a month. So sometime in March, we're planning to do a master class. So you'll get an invitation. William has decades of experience. William, can you ask the question? Go ahead and unmute yourself. I think it's a great question that you have.
Yeah, Patrick, thanks. I had a question about the eviction filings. We used to do targeted mailings to people that were filing evictions years ago, and it was very successful. And I actually drilled it down to people that I deemed to be accidental landlords. That's what I called them. They weren't professional landlords. They would have months and months of unpaid rent. And you could tell that in the filings. I used to go down to the courthouse and do all that research myself. But my question was on this evictions list, can you get this for every county? I'm pretty county specific these days. I do 2 counties in Arkansas. And how recent are they? In other words, if I order a list from you, how recent are these eviction filings? Then, of course, what's the cost on that? Because I'm interested in firing that up again. And I'm older now and I'm lazy and I don't want to go to the courthouse.
I'm with you there.
William, thanks for joining. We pull data on a regular basis, William. We pull it at a county level. That's wonderful. So if you say that I need, say, Arkansas, let me take any county from Arkansas. So you say that I need eviction records from ABC County, Arkansas. We would go ahead and research and give you a free sample to say what data are we going to offer. And based on what you see, you can always say you will require it or not. So we'll also give an estimate of how many records available. So what we did in List Central is we have identified around 200 counties and pulled that information and updated it. But as we do not have customers from each and every county, the county of your interest may or may not be available there. In case it's not available, feel free to get in touch by an email. We promise you that we will get back to you within 24 hours after researching with a sample of what's available in that county and also indicate what the count of records available.
Okay.
And we charge 20 cents per record, William.
Oh man, you couldn't do that for gas money to go to the courthouse. Yeah,
Right,
that's great.
The coffee that you'll sit there sipping while you're going through the books is more. But how recent are the lists of the evictions? That was the second question, Atchuta.
Patrick, we are very customer focused.
Okay.
Say, for example, William says, I need eviction records from the last 30 days. We pull it accordingly.
Beautiful.
Otherwise, customers get data on a weekly basis. So when they say weekly basis, if I have to deliver this on every Monday, we pull data from the previous 7 days only.
Right.
So
That's correct.
one can't be so fresh than that.
Wow.
That's how we are surviving, Patrick, because there are big players in the industry,
Right, of
which
course.
you and everyone are
Knows
aware
about.
of.
Sure.
But why are we still surviving? Because our data is fresh. We don't keep data off the shelf. And many a times, once the order is placed and we receive the payment, that's when we go ahead and pull the data. I'm sorry, sometimes when we go ahead and say there may be 20 to 30 records, because we don't really know unless we complete the entire process. That's the reason we give an estimate based on our previous experience that there will be 50 or 40 records, or 50 or 30 records, whatever it is. And once we complete the research and say, oh, William, we said 30 records, would you be interested in having 5 more? Because after research, we found that there would be 35.
Okay, awesome.
Well, and John Sawyer, a very good point. He says, William, the Atchuta's list beats the courthouse down. No candy or flowers either. I used to bring Dunkin' Donuts when I used to do this 30 years ago.
I'm telling you, it was Krispy Kreme donuts where I lived. Every time I went in there, I had 2 or 3 boxes of donuts, and I would go to the Superior Court Clerk's office, and I would go to the tax office, and I would go to the eviction, the magistrate court's office with donuts. And I tell you, man, those were the keys to the kingdom. I could get anything I wanted in that courthouse.
Exactly. I remember those days well. Thank God we've got Atchuta now.
Man, these young folks, they don't know how easy they got it these days.
Exactly.
You have to work it.
All righty, Atchuta. Out of courtesy to everybody, I know you're going to wrap up in the next few minutes. And by the way, folks, if you're interested in reaching out to Atchuta, if you're interested in finding out more about his probate leads, I'm going to in the chat, I'm going to send a link. You can visit this link here and click on that link. You'll get that. That'll get you access so that you can go ahead and reach out to Atchuta and his team. And do mention that you were on this webinar. Atchuta gives everybody white glove service, but he'll give you white glove service and roll out the red carpet as well.
Thank you, Patrick. William, I'll add to this. William, we do have several owner financing list types. So there may be an opportunity for working together and something we can really do for your students or mentees.
Sure.
Because in conscious of time, I'll quickly breeze through. We have for sale by owner list. We identify phone numbers or contact forms in case customers wants us to contact them with a specific offer or find further information. We can do that for you. We pull this information from various for sale by owners websites across the nation. Inherited property list, we do. I'll just breeze through because of the time constraint. These are properties which have been inherited. And again, like probate, the property is inherited and it has passed on to the next generation. If the person is not living in the county they inherited the property, they are most likely to sell as well. So there is some sort of motivation. In some cases, they have to pay taxes. So that's the reason they have to sell it as well. So I'll just quickly browse through. Divorce records as well. We check whether either of the party owns real estate. If they do, we include them in the list. There is emotion attached to it. So I would say that leave it or work with someone who has experience in dealing with divorce records, because there is a lot of emotion attached. Some of our customers don't really touch the segment. Some really love to work with people because they want to help the couple who are going through a difficult time. So I'll just move on. Expired listing, we provide that information as well. There is a law, I know, but we should not sell expired listing, but we don't pull it from MLS. We have our own mechanism to find out which listings have expired and so on. We provide foreclosure information as well, day in and day out, for all judicial states and non-judicial states. I'll just pre-foreclosure list. Then we have all other associated support services. We can do property analysis so that one may decide whether they want to bid for that particular property or not, and so on, or is it lucrative to bid for that property? There is also a way to identify foreclosure or overages and surpluses based on the events at the auction. We do a lot of research that I was talking about. I'm just breezing through. We have buyers list. We can identify proper names of owners who have purchased property using cash in the last 12 months from a particular county. So they are likely to buy properties, especially this is good for wholesalers. Then we have aged home with aged owners. They are likely to sell. Then we have, one second, I'll just put it on full screen.
I guess the
Empty
question
nesters.
should be, what don't you have? Seems like you have everything here. Wow.
We have everything.
Yes.
Long-term owners who have owned property for more than 10 years, so on. New homeowners list. Again, good way to target for various other reasons like churches, pet care, child care,
Insurance. Yeah,
insurance,
sure.
telephone systems, satellites, webcams, CC cameras, and so on. High equity list, again, very good for owner financing. Many of our customers buy this. Absentee landlord list, they're not living there, so they're likely to, they may require property management services and so on. Vacant property list, skip tracing services we offer. We are very good in terms when there is additional information like probate and pre-probate, where we identify hires and narrow the number, a contact number of the person. Same with divorce, because there are two parties associated. Inheritance, very good, especially when the data is for LLC owners. Related businesses, for related services, business owners and consumer list, we can do skip tracing as well. Some of our customers ask us to find out the homeowners, just giving the address. We do that as well. We do cold calling and texting service. Like I said a few minutes ago, we work with the customers to identify the script, check with the homeowner to find out whether their interest, what's the motivation level for selling. Sometimes we call the buyers also to find out what their requirements for, or what their need, what their buying criteria is, so to speak. We provide them a detailed report of how many calls did we make, whether it's a positive response or so. If there's a positive response, we share that information with our customer immediately. Else, we update a Google Drive on a regular basis, and customers can see the progress of various calls we have made over a period of time. Some customers ask to do follow-up, and a follow-up a few times. Like Sharon was saying, the money is in the follow-up. We are starting postcard services. I'll share details of that very soon. We have a wholesaling support system. Someone would say, I require you guys to work together to identify properties. We build everything in place for them. Stack leads, skip tracing, email campaign, which is virtual assistants, identify properties which meet their criteria, do property analysis to find out whether that particular property provides the required return, or identify ARVs so that we can cherry pick properties and so on. Build cash buyer list. So everything is in place. They just have to bring in the strategy and the mindset to work on this particular venture or the wholesaling system for that particular area they're interested in. Myths. I hear a lot of these things from customers. They say, I bought data from you. I know it's good. I can make millions. It's not possible. Data is a small part of the entire jigsaw puzzle. There are several factors which lead to a deal. Our message should resonate with the homeowner. Our offer should be attractive enough. We need to constantly follow up. There are negotiation skills. We should understand what the competition and have patience. Just good data will not make everything happen. And some new customers say that, oh, I bought the data, I didn't get a deal. It doesn't work that way. But experienced investors and customers know that data is an important part of the entire jigsaw puzzle, but it's not everything. Cheaper data does not mean better. Because targeted data reduces cost, effort, and we'll have time to spend with our family rather than dealing with thousands of leads and being disturbed with thousands of phone calls. Sometimes may or may not suit our requirement because we have not done pre-work and made our list targeted. The list is not a get-rich-quick scheme because conversion levels are usually 1 to 2%. If one is good in dealing with the messaging, attractive offer, and so on, if we get 1 to 2 deals out of every 100 records, we are doing really, really good because that's how the entire lead generation and direct marketing works. So from the cost perspective, if you have to look at the overall picture, I know everyone uses PropStream. 1 year back, 1.5 years back, I lose quite a few customers to PropStream because they offer 10,000 records for $99. And no one can beat it. They can beat it because the same set of data is sold to thousands of people. So so if you look at the total skip tracing, they charge 10 cents. If one has to call 10,000 records, it typically costs $1,500. If you have to do a repeat call, again, half of it, 50% of it is $750. Admin cost for repair, what you call for keeping track of records. If you have to use 10 hours, $600. Total cost is $3,449. Because we are not targeting the list. We are having a big chunk of data to address it. Because there is huge competition, the same generic data is bought by thousands and thousands of customers, everyone addressing the same set of homeowners. So when I receive 10 calls from various buyers, I am no longer motivated. I would feel I'm on cloud nine. Everyone needs my property. So it defeats the purpose of saying it's motivated. Then I would start dictating my terms. I need more, or I already have an offer for so-and-so. So cost per lead, I would say 0.2%, which is good for so generic require 2 deals for 10,000, and the cost per deal would be 17,200 on an average. The remarks, the same is used by several hundred customers. So data is cheap, but the overall cost is higher. If you look at how we do with us is generic, we only give for 10,000 records, we charge 500, but 10,000 is targeted. So if you look at the same set of numbers, the cost per lead for us is 670 when compared to 1,700 on the generic list, which is being received by several hundred people. So this is with regard to the generic list total cost. I would suggest customers to look at the total cost, not this simple data cost, which is cheap. Then if it is niche list is not compared with PropStream because they don't really provide niche lists. So when I say listings like probate leads or something like that, the cost is significantly lower. So I would rather spend time and energy on a niche list like probate and so on, get a better return for my money rather than use a generic list by data which has been used by everyone. I had to narrate an example. I was talking to one of my customers. They said when they call the homeowner from a data they purchased from PropStream, they said, "You are the 67th person to call me." I don't want to be in that stage when I'm a buyer buying or trying to find good deals. I would like to be, okay, a few people called me, I'm interested, can we talk? When there is a 67th person, I would definitely say that the homeowner is not motivated any longer. I know my property is getting a lot of attention. I would like to get a good price. So that's what I would say to my customers. But I'm happy if they want to try and see us or try other sources and then come back to us, fine. When I said I lost a lot of customers to PropStream 2 years back, I was a little worried. But over a period of time, almost all of them came back because um, cheap data does not really mean more deals or better deals. So case study,
I'm
sorry.
just going to interrupt you just for a second, real quick. In case you're interested, and you may have noticed throughout the presentation that Atchuta was sharing that you can get a free sample of the data that he's got available. If you're interested, you can scan this QR code, which is here, or if you'd like, I entered inside the chat a link. So I'll give you a second if you'd like to scan the QR code, and you can get to List Central and you can request that free sample of the data, and of course speak to Atchuta and the people on his team to help you with any needs or any questions that you have. So I'll leave this on for another second or two. Go ahead and scan the QR code, or I shared the link in the chat again. You're welcome to click on that link so that you can visit Atchuta and his associates. I'm going to stop sharing. Go ahead, Atchuta. You want to go ahead and wrap this up? I know we're a little bit over the hour.
I'm just I'm going to wrap this up.
Sure.
Thanks, Patrick. So some of our customers, you can see the huge list here. We have been working with them for so long. Some of them are 15-year-old customers. They have been working with them for 15 odd years. We provide various types of data in bulk, and some of them get data on a daily basis. All of them, you can touch base with them and see and talk about us or find out about us, how we take care of our customers. Some of them, we compete with them on the market place, but still work together. You might have noticed that. Again, this, all of them. So what customer says about us, they have rated us on Trustpilot. And this particular customer talks about PropStream. They say that what I was referring to, they are heavily marketed to. PropStream data is good, but they're heavily marketed to. I totally agree with the gentleman's feedback. It's on this side of the get list, not everyone has. So again, some more feedback from customers. As a special offer today, you can use the code Feb 2025 to get 50% off on various lists available on List Central. And also, in case the data is not available for your specific account, email us. We'll still honor the 50% discount as long as it reaches us before, and long as the payment reaches us before 28th of February. Someone can refer their friends by saying just an email, they get 10% off, and refer get 10%. And there's also a facility to order free samples on a real supermarket website. But I would say they can email us on List Central, which is the best way to do it. Saying that whatever county they're interested in, the lead type they're interested in, we would work and get back to you within 24 hours with the sample data and also an estimate of what available in terms of number of records. So these are the contact details.